There are always some bosses year in and year out that leave an impression, whether it's through their mechanics or sheer force of will. This year was no different and delivered some of the toughest foes in video game history. So without further ado, let's take a look at the 14 standout hardest boss fights of the year. CORTEX, Path of Exile, Synthesis League. Leaving aside the confusing league mechanics, this encounter was about fighting several difficult bosses in a row. Each has their own one-shot mechanics. Each has their own vaguely discernible moves that are tough to dodge. You don't really know what's happening much of the time until the fight kind of ends or you die. But for all intents and purposes, it's a tough fight, even for the best builds. Demon of Hatred, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. There's no way to properly explain just how overwhelming the Demon of Hatred can be, and that's not taking its 3 bars of vitality into consideration. Many of his attacks are just unblockable and consist of wide-ranging fire, which can be hard to dodge. He does an incredible amount of damage and adds in some homing attacks and rings of fire to make life miserable. While you can use Suzaku's Lotus Umbrella to block many of his attacks and Malcontent to stun him, allowing for decent vitality damage, they only improve your odds of survival rather than guaranteeing a win. ISSHIN the Sword Saint, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Of course, for all the horror that the Demon of Hatred exhibits, nothing can top ISSHIN the Sword Saint. Getting to this fight involves first beating Genichiro, Way of Tomoe. Better do that perfectly because ISSHIN is a 3-part assault, starting with double slashes and wind slices before moving on to a rapid-fire pistol, spear, and sword combos. The final phase is somewhat easier, but you still need to deflect his lightning, which is a tougher ask than with Genichiro. All in all, ISSHIN is the final trial of Sekiro, pushing all of your skills to the limit. Mr. X, Resident Evil 2. Mr. X is fairly suppressive, but not the most overwhelming entity to deal with when he's just an unsuspecting stalker. Not so in this fight. Mr. X goes full tyrant form with a charge attack that can easily kill Leon. There isn't a whole lot of room to run either, since you're on an elevator platform. The only way to defeat him is by shooting his heart, which is a lot easier said than done given the time limit. The Virgin Born, Code Vein. Many of the bosses in Code Vein can be a bad time if you don't know their weaknesses. The Virgin Born is slightly above that. Even if you're significantly high level, it can decimate you. Magic users will have a tough time due to its high magic defense. It also doesn't help that the Virgin Born is constantly on the move, so you have to directly control the camera to have any luck of knowing what to do or where the next attack is coming from. Undying King, Remnant from the Ashes. One can personally attest to just how irritatingly difficult the Undying King is. His minions are bad enough with their projectile attacks and AoE blows, but he also has several magical orbs surrounding him to deal more projectile damage. Both the minions and orbs keep respawning, by the way. Oh, and the king has some devastating melee attacks that can easily kill you. Also, he regens some health and summons lots of smaller enemies to overwhelm you. Last, but certainly not least, killing him isn't even the end. The Undying King will revive at half health and continue the torture. KRONIKA, Mortal Kombat 11. KRONIKA is hyped up as a titaness, one that supersedes all the elders. She proves it during this fight, constantly teleporting, firing homing projectiles, and even reversing your movement to a few seconds earlier to combo you. She also brings in other fighters, like the Collector, to wear you down. Fatal blows are also useless against her. It's a tough fight, but if you lose, at least you get to see one of the best fatalities ever. Ancient LESHEN, Monster Hunter World. Added earlier this year, the Ancient LESHEN is a much tougher version of the one fought during the Witcher 3 collaboration quest. You still have to deal with the same root and crow attacks, along with an explosive, Nova-like burst and Jagras. Despite being roughly the same fight, the Ancient LESHEN has way more health and deals way more damage, so taking it on alone or making mistakes is way less forgiving. Darth Vader, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This is less of a fight and more of a battle for survival because it's Darth friggin' Vader. After casually disposing of Seer, Vader is the force-infused version of Jason Voorhees, tearing apart everything to kill Cal. Even when seemingly stabbed by Cal's lightsaber, Vader is unfazed, and it's all Cal can do to escape. Master Rank Lunastra, Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Lunastra was pretty bad in the base game, with her supernova simply obliterating your health without heat guard. You'd think the master rank version would be worse. And you're right. With more health, a faster killing nova, and, well, more damage in general, master rank Lunastra is simply in a league of her own. Don't face her with randoms if you value your sanity. SHIN AMON Judgment. The AMON clan are some of the toughest foes throughout the Yakuza series, and SHIN AMON is no exception. Possessing 7 bars of health, he can throw grenades, resist stuns and staggers, pull out energy swords and nunchucks, and even summon a shield that resists damage depending on which style its color corresponds to. He can also steal Yagami's phone during the fight, preventing access to items unless you have them on quick select, and he'll also be immune to an EX action after suffering damage from it once. Corrupt Heart, Slay the Spire. Even getting to the second boss and slay the Spire can be a tough ask, so the Corrupt Heart, the final boss of the game, can be downright unforgiving. Along with a buff that effectively caps the damage it takes every turn and debilitating you from the outset, the Heart can also use moves like Beat of Death X. This will deal X damage to you with each card you play. It also has to be defeated quickly. Once it starts racking up strength buffs, it's not long before it one-shots you. Ether, Astral Chain. Astral Chain has a significant post-game attached, which will inevitably lead you to Ether, the toughest boss in the entire game. With a hefty health pool, Ether dishes out all kinds of damage and projectiles while also utilizing a lot of Nova Prime's moves. Though not impossible, you'll need every trick and advantage possible to take it down. Final boss, Blazing Chrome. You probably found Blazing Chrome to be of an acceptable difficulty until reaching the final boss. It starts off as a one-on-one affair with a flying robot. Then it controls a larger robot in the background, a la Sigma from Mega Man X, throwing all manner of lasers at you. Then it sends you into virtual reality to face other foes, including a digital version of yourself. It just goes on and on. Don't fail, by the way, otherwise you have to start the fight all over. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.